I turned the corner and followed the road back to my house. I noticed a black Cadillac slowly driving by me as they lowered the window in slow motion. As the window started to roll back up, a few black feathers escaped from the open window. I immediately slammed on my brakes in disbelief and turned to watch the feathers fly off. Before I could blink twice, these feathered fiends started to shoot at me. Bang, bang, bang! Instantly, I became a target for death, and the black feathers flew everywhere in chaos. One bullet punctured my chest, another into my left cheek, and several into my wings. The pressure from the bullets was polarizing, disabling my entire body until my vision blurred. Due to the complete state of shock I was in, I didn't even feel the pain. It was like I was watching myself in slow motion as bullets peppered my flesh. A massive crowd from the main intersection started to gather around me, and by that time, I had realized I was the target of a drive-by shooting. They had sped off and left no traces of faces to be found. The seatbelt was the only thing that kept me sitting up. One woman opened my door. She quickly unfastened my seatbelt, and I fell to the ground. Kneeling down, she placed my delicate head on her lap. She looked into my eyes and was crying uncontrollably, telling me to hang on. Her tears streamed rivers of compassion, but all I could feel was my body separating from my spirit. There was mass hysteria. People were trying to stop the bleeding from my chest, head, and wings. I was dazed and confused, a kaleidoscope of chaos through my weeping eyes. I tried to sit up despite my torso trauma and pried myself away from the grips of the human onlookers who were trying to save my life. I looked up to the sky, but the sun was too bright to focus beyond its warming glory. I looked to my left and saw a beautiful sanctuary with a rainforest as far as the eye could see. I could hear it call my name. I started to bend forward and crawled towards the sanctuary, coughing up feathers, desperate to save my life. When I arrived, I dramatically reached for one tree and dragged my body past to seek shade to coffin my decaying corpse. I collapsed with anger in my heart, and my demons took over. I rolled over and began to throw up blood and damaged tissue. I could feel the warmth of the blood as it passed by my tongue and beak. I threw up many times and then laid my head to rest. My eyes became heavy and my body pancaked the ground. My spirit left my bag of bones and joined the many stars in the sky, looking for their corresponding soul to save.
Kwe awoke and shook her head to regain her vision, she huffed and puffed her way to a rock clearing despite her injured wings and torso. The sub-zero temperature numbed her injuries. However, she was slowly losing any remaining body heat she managed to conserve. She loves sitting on rocks because they remind her of her father. Her father was a caring man but had a bad temper that was frightening. On his good days, he took Kwe on adventures and guided her through the treetops to go people watching together. He even brought some sweets to entice Kwe to stay out longer and pay more attention. Kwe loved him, and it didn't matter what people said about him. He was the sparkle in her eye. Sitting on the rock clearing gave Kwe a sense of longing to be held as she reminisced about the good times. A chill ran up and down her spine, making her realize why they call it the dead of winter. But it didn't stop her from sitting on the icy and snowy edge. She tried to swallow, but her regrets netted the frog in her throat that held back the tears. Her labored breathing was her anxiety storming inside of her. She took a deep breath, but the silence of her grief was deafening. Her eyes glazed over, deepening her depression. Instantly, a rock from behind her rolled into her back and almost pushed her over. She froze like an ice sculpture and watched the rock roll back from the edge. "What was that?" she exclaimed. Kwe quickly hopped into bird defense mode. With injured wings, Kwe took a snowball and threw it at the rock to see if it would move again. What a courageous crow, surviving life and death situations but easily spooked by her imagination. Eventually she lost interest and hopped over to the cliffs to resume her suicidal steps. Sitting there with defeat in her heart, she turned to a dark place inside her. This dark place contains the rage of injustice, where her innocence once sparkled. It's a pit of despair, a bridge to nowhere, a depression of darkness, a breath of death, a chance to end her own life. A shadow of a cloud darkened her thoughts, and her broken heart bled memories of great loss as she solemnly realized her relationship with her blood father will never be the same. Kwe was consumed with fear, and her inner volcano was about to erupt. Who cares? No one will ever care if I live or die. What was I thinking that I could make some kind of positive difference in this world? I'm just me, pathetic, tainted, unwanted, and alone. I'm nothing more than a mistake resulting from forced colonization, a half-breed just not native enough. If I jumped and killed myself, I could end this journey right now. It's just not worth it anymore. I don't want to live. I want to die. I just want the pain to stop. I hate my life. These secrets, they're killing me. Why can't I move on? Kwe stood up from the rock she was sitting on and closed her eyes. She quivered and shook from the desperation that was choking her to death. Her decision to kill herself has been made, and it was time to take 3 steps to her death, the bitter end. She took one last deep breath. But suddenly, the slippery rock clearing cracked, and a rock slide ensued. Kwe fell frantically, trying to use her injured wings to grab onto the side of the granite cliffs, but it appeared to be a wasted effort. This avalanche was going to ground this bird, once and for all. From the corner of her slanted eye, she noticed a shiny object. As her last-ditch effort to save herself, she reached for that twinkling star. Instantly, her body was pulled from the landing carnage, ripping her feathers from her bleeding, flushed skin. A sacrifice worth making. Amazingly, a helping hand came out of nowhere and lovingly wrapped this injured crow in a blanket and gently placed her cocooned body at the bottom of the cliffs. Kwe's spirit rejoined her body, and a second chance to live was granted as long as she kept her blanket close to her heart. As I woke up, I noticed the chief rubbing my forehead with endearment. He held me and said, "She is not dead." I threw up a phenomenal amount of blood and grossness that made the crowd watch in disbelief. As I was throwing up, the chief noticed small pieces of bullets that were coming up with damaged tissue from my chest, back, and hips. He then realized that the Creator and Mother Earth were trying to save my life by making me throw up the bullets that had tried to end my life. He started to count the bullets, and the number became 12. One woman yelled out to the crowd, "She was shot 12 times." The chief tried to remove my blanket from me to wipe away the blood from my face, but I begged him not to take it. Blankets give us life, heat, protection, and tell the story of our ancestors. As long as I keep this blanket close to my heart, I will never be alone again. With this blanket, I shall not die. He wiped my hair from my eyes and looked at me with forgiveness. As he did that, I saw a twinkle from his shining ring. He then winked at me with reassuring eyes. He gently put my head down from his lap. He stood up and yelled, "She is not dead. She will live. But we need to get her help right away." The sirens became louder, and the chaos continued. All of a sudden, the paramedics surrounded me as they lifted me to safety. I knew then it was okay to close my human eyes. I coughed repeatedly from the shooting injuries, and a few feathers escaped from my throat as a silent reminder of where I came from. I repeated, "With this blanket, I shall not die. With this blanket, I shall not die. With this blanket, I shall not die."